Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HVAC Digital Marketing Made Easy with the Surefire Local Marketing Cloud webinar today. My name is David Reed. I'm going to be walking you guys through our cloud and also going through some other challenges and things that you guys want to be aware of for the upcoming year and planning for your 19 strategy. At the end, we'll have a little bit of Q&A, but if you do have questions, I have some of our team members monitoring those, so we can pop those in as they come along. Just for those of you who may not be familiar, Surefire Local, we were established in 2011, primarily focusing in the home improvement HVAC contractor space. We're based here in Tysons, right outside of DC, and have a little over 1,200 customers that we manage currently. And today, I'm going to be kind of walking you through our cloud, which I've got a little screenshot there, and how that has helped a lot of contractors to manage their online presence and make sure that their brand is really being represented the way that they want it to. You know, we know and recognize that referral and word of mouth leads, they're the most important leads that you guys can generate. And so it's really, really important that we make sure that we monitor that online presence to make sure that, you know, our brand and everything that we're doing stays positive. So, quick little reminder, there is a chat box off to the right-hand side. The webinar is going to be recorded, and we'll send you guys over a copy of that later on today. If you do have any additional questions afterwards, you can email marketing@surefirelocal.com, or, of course, you can use the questions box. So, free gift. One lucky attendee is going to get a Google Home Hub. The more advanced version of the Google Home and the Amazon Alexa, and it's Google, so it's cooler. And so we'll be announcing that towards the end of the presentation. My name is David Reed, as I mentioned before. I'm the Director of Sales here, and yes, I absolutely dress like that every single day, currently wearing a three-piece suit. So, wanted to talk to you guys. I always like to bring new statistics and information when I'm doing one of these webinars. And so I was researching, you know, some different trends and things that are going on in the marketplace. And one that just jumped out at me and why I think there's, you know, so many of you on this call today is that you're thinking about a full marketing cloud, one that's going to allow you to see how everything is actually performing. And what sort of changes and things you guys can implement, right? You know, you know, when we look at some of the different events, and we actually were just at one of the remodeling futures events a few weeks back in Harvard, and one of the things that they talked about is, you know, a lot of businesses are becoming a lot more technologically savvy, a lot more advanced, and so, you know, contractors and HVAC and other businesses, they're wanting to have a little bit more of that data so they can understand and really have one place where they can understand, hey, what's working and what's not working, right? Instead of just, you know, hiring a company and hoping that they're going to take care of everything for you guys. One of the challenges that I see most often with small businesses is this concept of, you know, too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Where they've got a web person, right? And the lady here with the fish, right? She's just a friend of a friend. She built you a website. She got this cool fish. She's going to throw it in the pot, right? Then you've got a girl in the office or a guy in the office that might be doing some social media for you, right? Where they might be posting on Facebook or Instagram or House or different kind of programs like that. She also probably has about like 17 other hats that she's wearing, and so, you know, maybe she posts and maybe she doesn't post on social media. Then you've got, you know, your angry guy that's running your paid marketing, right? It's a local guy, it's your Yellow Pages, your Dex Media, Hibu, those type of organization. He's, you know, trying to get you in the books, and he's trying to get you to do AdWords, and you know, he's got his own strategy and his own secret sauce that he's upset about. And then you have some guy who's dumping, I don't know, maybe broth or something in there, right? That's your local SEO person, And then you got a person that's, sprinkling in some reviews, right? So you've got 5 different cooks. You've got all these specialists, right? Hey, I just do reviews. Hey, I just do AdWords. I'm an expert. The problem is if everybody's got their own secret sauce and everyone's working off their own recipe, it's really hard for you to have that meal come out the way that you wanted it to, right? And so part of what our tool allows you to do is to be able to see how everyone's performing to make sure that that meal is coming out properly, right? Another one of the challenges that we see is the landscape that we have right now, right? Currently, there are, this slide is actually from 2017, so it's a little old, but currently there are about 6,800 different marketing technology resources that are available. That's a lot for you to figure out. I mean, I run the sales team here, and I was looking for some new technology for our team, and I was looking at 2 separate companies, and they were both pretty much the same. And I was, really overwhelmed with figuring out which one of these is the right company to go with, and I just handle sales, let alone, payroll and making sure the job's done on time and make sure that the crews get out and all the other things that you guys have to do in order to run your business. And so part of what Surefire has done, we recognize that, and so we've actually partnered up with the best technology resources that are out there, and I'll show you what those are a little bit later on as we kind of get through this. Another one of the challenges that we're seeing now is that there's this big shift in the way that consumers are searching, right? And when you're looking at your online presence, everyone wants to be, okay, how can I be more visible? How can I get people in front of me? And part of the challenge here is that you need to be in a lot of different places. One of the ways that I try and describe this to people is, if you think of Google or Yahoo or Bing or whoever as a library, right? And if you just have your website like this person over here, that's one book on the shelf that someone could pick out and find you. Whereas if you have all these other, you got your Facebook, you got Bing, you got Instagram, you got Google, you got Yelp, Siri, all those different places. If you have your business listed in all those places, okay, now I've got 10, 15, 20, 100 different books on the shelf and better opportunity that someone's actually going to find me, right? So it's really, really important that as you're looking at how do I expand my online presence, how do I get in front of the right people, we got to look at, a lot of different areas and really wanting to be visible. So as you guys saw with the way that I dress, you'll know that I'm very offended by this slide here, and that's because you're not allowed to have 2 different types of stripes. It's a big no-no. Definitely don't want to do that. Aside from that, the other reason why this is a bad slide is because the customer journey is really changing, right? Before, a number of years back, hey, are you in the yellow pages? That's really all you need to be in order to get leads. And now what we're seeing is that there's all these different places, right? We just talked about it. You got to be in a lot of different areas. The problem is, which one of those areas should we be in? Should I be on Nextdoor? Should I have a Yelp profile? Should I be advertising on Yelp? Should I be advertising on House? Should I be using Guild Quality? There's all these different places. It's very fragmented. It's really hard to understand what that return on investment is, right? And so that's part of what our cloud does, is it helps us to start to shape up that data. We pull in about 90 different data streams all into one place for us to really better understand how everything is performing. And that kind of goes to the message for our company, which is, we don't want to, sit around and wait, for the puck and skate to where it is now. We want to skate to where the puck's going, right? And so there are some shifts in terms of technology, in terms of resources and tools that are out there that, you guys really need to take advantage of. Again, a number of years back, hey, do you just have a website? That's all you need in order to be successful. Now we're seeing, hey, it relies a lot more on voice search, right? That's why we're giving away a Google Home Hub, because we know that that's the direction that people are using. That's a more valuable gift for our attendees, right? It's the same thing for your customer base. And so it's really important that you set things up in a certain way that you're actually visible on those platforms, right? There's certain criteria and data and information that these voice search and AI tools that they need in order to really better understand how, and where your business should be relevant, right? Some interesting stats here. What we're seeing is that by 2020, experts are anticipating that 50% of all search is going to come from voice, right? And just for some perspective, Google, just the Google search, has 5.44 billion searches every single day, over 160 billion searches per month. So we're talking about a massive amount of search volume, and if you don't have the things that you need set up, there's a good chance that your competitors are going to put that stuff in place so that they actually show up. So what we want to do is kind of give you some guidance. I'm going to talk you through a couple of those things and part of how our cloud helps those, right? Now, one of the other things that we want to focus on here is the types of terms that we're actually showing up for. This has been a big key in terms of some of the success that we've had for our clients. One of our clients, I know we're talking HVAC here, but one of our clients is a very large replacement window manufacturer. And this window manufacturer typically sells a window for between $1,500 and $2,500 per window, right? So if you got a house that's got 15, 20 windows, it's a pretty expensive project. So it's pretty safe to say that they are not looking for everybody. Somebody that can afford to put $40K down for some windows, they're probably doing okay in life. And so we're looking for a very specific type of customer that can make that investment. And part of what we've found here is that in order to get in front of those customers, we have to be a little bit more specific, right? We got to be a little bit more targeted in terms of our efforts. So the way that I describe this is when I first started, searching for my car, I originally started, I know I want a white car and I want 4 doors, right? And then as I get farther along in my purchasing process, okay, I know that I want black interior. I know that I want a sunroof. I know that I want these safety features. I know I want this amount of horsepower. I know I want from one of these 3 brands, right? So the more detailed my search gets, typically the farther along I am in my purchasing process, and typically the more qualified of an individual, because I've done my research, I know what I'm looking for, I'm going to be. So it's really, really important that as you're looking at how do we structure things, we make sure that we take into consideration some of those more specific search phrases, because that's going to actually lead to our typically more qualified buyer. And if you guys have specific questions on like what those terms are and how you should incorporate them and that sort of stuff, at the end of this, we're going to have a request for a demo where we actually go through some specific strategies that we've seen be really successful for other HVAC contractors. So all you got to do is just click, which day you want us to reach out, or of course you can message us at marketing@surefirelocal.com. One of the other challenges that we see is on the review side of things. I mentioned earlier, we know that reviews are a very, very important part of your online reputation, right? Referral and word of mouth is really, really important in terms of your branding and your recognition. And one of the studies that I read recently said that 22% of consumers won't even consider using you if you have a negative review, right? Now, if you have 1 negative review and you have 3 total reviews, that number is probably a lot higher. If you have 1 negative review and 50 positive reviews, that number is probably lower. And so you need to make sure that you've got the right processes to acquire reviews, which is part of what our cloud allows you to do. And so I'm going to show you that and show you some time frame and other things in terms of how we help to make that easier for you. Now, with all the change that I've talked about, we talked about the landscape and customer journey and the technology and everything that's evolving. There are 4 strategies that are not going to change, right? They're always going to remain constant. And that's these 4 terms, and I want to make sure everyone kind of understands this because it's really, really important. So recency. Why is recency important to Google? So at the end of the day, Google is a referral service, right? You go to Google and say, who's the best auto mechanic? And it says, try these 10 companies, right? It's recommending those 10 companies. So Google's goal is to present the best company, right? Just for fun here, I want everyone to think in your head, how much revenue do you think Google made off AdWords last year? And actually, while we're at that, just put in the chat box, put in how much revenue you think Google made last year. I'll give you guys a hint. It's in the billions. So while we're chatting through that, Google, when we look at their numbers and their metrics, right, they want to make sure they're giving the best possible resource, the best possible company, so that way, consumers continue to come back to their platform and they can then charge more businesses. And to circle back to it while we've gotten a couple answers, Google made $95.4 billion last year from AdWords. So it is very safe to say that Google wants to protect that investment. And the only way to protect that investment is to make sure that they continue to serve up relevant companies when consumers are searching. And so one of the things that they look at is, hey, are you posting content? Right? If you're not posting content, if you think of yourself, right? If you were to go to Fox or CNN or MSNBC or BuzzFeed, right? If you went to one of those platforms and they hadn't posted content in 6 months, you're probably not going to come back to the platform because it's not providing you with any value, right? If you go to the 7-Eleven to get the newspaper and the last newspaper is from June of 2017, you're probably, this is not what I'm looking for, right? So recency is really important in Google's eyes to make sure that the content, the information that you have out there is recent, right? Make sure that they're presenting a company that's adding value. The other key is proximity, right? Google does not want to serve up businesses. If I'm looking for an electrician here in Tysons for my house, I don't want to find somebody in Atlanta. That's not helpful for me, right? I'm looking for the local guy in my background. And so part of what we need to do is make sure that we've got content and we've got indicators that represents, hey, we work in these areas. And there are some correct ways to do this, and there are a lot of incorrect ways to do this. So if you haven't, put any sort of proximity indicators in your website, that's definitely something you want to run by whoever is, managing your guys' marketing, or if you don't have anyone, let us know and we'll kind of give you some guidance. Another key here, and probably one of the bigger ones, is relevance, right? If I'm looking for a HVAC contractor, I don't want to find a pizza company, right? And it's simple to say that, but when you look at the content and the information that you have on your website, if I've got, Carrier and I've got Train and I've got, boilers, I've got other, Wi-Fi enabled thermostats, right? If I've got 20 different things listed on a web page, actually, let me go back to my pizza analogy because this might make a little bit more sense, right? If I go to Yelp, right, and on Yelp, they are most likely going to serve up companies like Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's. That's the worst out of the 3, but they're going to most likely serve up one of those companies, right? Companies that primarily focus on pizza. They're probably not going to serve up the local deli that has 5% of their menu is dedicated to pizza because it's not as relevant to what I'm searching for. So when you're looking at the content on your website, it's really important that we have it broken out so it's easy for the search engines to understand and really interpret that data, right? Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have questions, it's a complex topic, but it's really, really important. Another thing is prominence, right? What are people saying about you? Are they saying positive things? Are there good reviews, bad reviews? Are people posting on your social media, commenting, liking, that sort of thing? The search engines want to see that data because that's an indicator of consumers essentially voting for you as a business, right? Now, quick question here. I've kind of hinted at this a little bit. How do you increase your chances that you're going to get in front of the right consumers? So there's lots of different ways, right? We could do shows. We could, have canvassing. We could do referral. We could do word of mouth. We could run TV. We could do radio. We could just have our trucks wrapped. There's lots of different ways that we could, strategize on this. The one that we found to be the most successful is really expanding your footprint across the web. Okay? And so I'm going to kind of talk you guys through what that looks like and what some of the strategies are. And I'm going to talk you through some errors that we've seen that a lot of contractors have made. Right? So Comfort Solutions, great company, had a couple conversations with them. Some things here that I like, right? This is their website. I like the fact that they've got the large telephone number up in the upper right-hand corner. I think that's good. It's important. I like that the red is there, so it draws your eyes, pulls them up a little bit higher, attracts a little bit more attention to it. I like the way that they've got the boxes here navigated. It's easy to see why choose us. Some of their work, different specials, financing. Hey, look, if I'm my HVAC unit in my first house, it's a good 17 years old, right? And I don't have 10 grand to plunk down on a new unit. I'm going to need to finance that. So I want to make sure before I call you, hey, are you going to be able to help me get this financed, right? So that's, these are all good little credibility builders that make it easier for me as a consumer to say, this is the guy who I'm going to call. One of the other things here that they've got on their website is we talked about proximity, right? So Alexandria, Virginia, right? This is helping the search engines understand, hey, if someone's searching for, air conditioning and heating service in Alexandria, this might be a relevant company, right? So this ties into the relevance that we talked about, and it ties into the proximity. What it's missing here is the recency, right? If I just create this one time, and this site, just based on the look and feel, is probably about 4 years old, would be my guess. If I just create this page one time and I don't come back to it, we're not continuing to add new value here. So it's kind of like, you can't just eat a salad one time and all of a sudden you're healthy, right? It takes consistently doing these things and adding new content here that are going to make you a much more relevant resource, right? One of the other big things here is inconsistencies in what's called NAP data. I've highlighted here. That's name, address, phone number. So there's all these different what's called directory listings. Hopefully everyone's familiar with it. If you're not, it is your yellow page listing of your business across the web, right? So your Yelp profile, your Google My Business profile, your Better Business, your Angie's List, your Home Advisor, all these different profiles, they have name, address, phone number, data. And so when the search engines, right, back to, the search engines being a referral company, if they come to you, all these different directory listings, and they see Michaels & Son, which, just so you guys, you may or may not be familiar, Michaels & Son is about a $50 million a year HVAC contractor. Very, very large, right? And they've got lots of inconsistencies here, right? So this happens for everybody. And it can be a pain to fix this sort of stuff, and we've got some good tools and strategies. I'm going to show you guys how we fix it. But if Google comes and they see on one site you've got this 6,000 number, on another site you've got this 6,400 number, and another site you got this 73 number, and then we've got this 5730 and 5740, and we've got all these different variations. Somewhere we've got an and, somewhere we have an and sign, somewhere we've got services and company, and somewhere we don't. When they see all these variations, it just makes them feel a little bit less confident in your business and confident in the information that they're about to serve up. And one of the ways that I describe optimizing your content for the search engines, it all has to do with giving the search engines confidence that you are the right choice, right? So by creating recent content, hey, we're giving them confidence that we're a good company. By providing that proximity data, okay, we're telling them, hey, we're in this area. We're safe to be a referral for you. When they see consistent directory listing data, boom, it's all about giving them confidence here, everybody. So that's another really, really big kind of key area. Another problem that we see a lot is this concept of schema. So I talked earlier about voice search and why voice search is so important. And when we look at voice search and seeing that 50% of all search is going to happen through voice, there's been a 3,400% increase in voice search over the last few years. So we're seeing this big surge, and so that means that all these different platforms, they have to read this data, interpret all this, and figure it out really quickly. And so Google and Yahoo and Bing, they put together Schema, right? Schema.org is an actual website. You can go there. And what Schema does is it is a highlighter for your website, right? It's a specific piece of code that you can add to your website that help tell the search engines really what you should be relevant for, right? And where you should be relevant. So giving them context to, if you're an HVAC business, you want to tell them that you're an HVAC contractor. And so this tool allows you to provide that context and that information. And I'm going to show you guys exactly what this looks like. This is us looking at the source code of another website, and they have 0 references of it. I'm going to show you what one of our customers looks like in just a second here, right? Now, when we look at our program and our platform, part of what we've done here is combined about 90 different data streams all into one place for us to really better understand how everything is performing and make sure that we're actually driving that return on investment. Before we jump into the cloud, though, I want to show you guys 2 things here. Hold on one second. So there's another tool that we've created called GeoJuice, which some of you may have seen or you might have heard about before. So this is a real contractor's website. And what we're looking at here is this is a mobile app tool. So it allows your technicians to check in at all of their job sites. So these guys here, they're based in Hollywood, Florida. They cover up above Boca Raton. They go down below Miami. So they got a decent sized service area, which is not uncommon for most of the contractors we work with. And so what we're looking at here is that they checked in at a job site 16 hours ago, and they said we're near Northwest 50th Ave in Hollywood, Florida. And we're doing a tile re-roof estimate, or we're doing a replacement, or we're doing a repair, whatever it might be. And by you taking this photo and using this mobile app, this automatically gets published to your website in a way that the search engines pick up on this using that structured data that we talked about. And so one of the other things that this allows us to do is it creates a process to actually generate reviews, right? So they had a different review. This probably is the same guy. Seems like he checked in 16 hours ago. And walks through their presentation. John from Hollywood, Florida. So they got this guy 16 hours ago. Angel wrote a review 22 hours ago. Here they got another guy 6 days ago. So we've created this process where right there from the driveway, we can say, hey, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we'd love it if you could share your experience with us and share, how our process works, and if we've done a good job and it helps me and it helps our boss and our company and all that sort of stuff. And we got specific scripting and things like that you guys can use. But we see that by requesting that review at the time of service, we tend to get a significantly higher response rate for reviews, right? So this business, nothing special. They've been with us for about 2 years now, and they've got a little over 600 reviews through this particular tool. And now I mentioned earlier the schema section of this, so I'm going to show you guys what this looks like, right? So this is the source code, right? So if I search schema, I showed you on the previous guy, he had 0 references. Our client has 212 references. And let me show you how this kind of connects the dots. So this is a roofing contractor, obviously, and we are telling the search engines, we have this tag schema.org/roofing contractor, right? So we're connecting the dots for the search engines that, hey, this particular business, they're a roofing contractor. They should be more relevant. And they know, Google knows that this rating here, this has to do with their aggregate rating. 4.9 out of 5 stars, 629 reviews. And they know that this has to do with a review. And they know that this was the actual person that wrote the review. And they know that this was the actual post. So we're providing all of this context and this information. We've talked about the 4 things that don't change, right? Recency, 16 hours. Proximity, Hollywood, Florida. Relevance, re-roof. Prominence, review, right? So all of these things help the search engines to tie all of that data in, right? Now, let me jump back in here. Actually, one more thing while I'm showing you guys this. So if I search Pembroke Pines roofing contractors, we mentioned this particular contractor is in Hollywood, Florida. Pembroke is a suburb of that. I can see that they actually, of the 629 reviews, 109 of them are in Pembroke Pines. And these guys are the very first Google search result right after all of our paid ads, right? So we know that the search engines are picking up on this data. They're looking at this, and this is helping our clients to become more relevant, right? Now, I mentioned before that we partner with some of the best partners in the space, right? So we partner up with WordPress to make sure that the website is built properly. Like WordPress is your iOS or Android of website design, right? We've got Google My Business. We've got Google as a partner. We've got Chat Technology, the one of the biggest in this space. They've got over 10,000 customers that use them in the contractor space. We've got programs like Salesforce that integrate in this, so that way we can actually see how everything is ultimately performing. And really kind of what this translates into for you is security, right? What we've developed here is a stack of technology that makes sure that nothing slips through the cracks, right? You as a business owner, you've got 20 different hats that you're wearing. And part of the challenge here is that you might not think hosting is all that important, but there's certain hosting providers that perform better, right? There's certain ways that you need to structure the data with Schema that are actually going to make the site perform faster, right? You think of your smartphone, right? If your smartphone, you got that little red dot that says your software is out of date, guess what? Your phone starts to perform a little bit slower. And so a lot of people don't even think about, hey, is my software up to date on my website? That's not a thing that crosses anybody's mind. But those are all the things that we put in place. We've got nightly crawlers on our website and our platforms to make sure, hey, if anything breaks, we're notified immediately and put in place some auto fixes, right? Making sure that you've got mobile first, which, to be honest, I didn't even know what that was. I'm in a room with my CEO, and he's like, yeah, we're mobile first. And I'm like, whispering to someone else, what does that mean exactly? And the thought process on it is, just so everyone's on the same page, for the last 20 years, everything has been desktop, right? And mobile is the secondary, right? We want to make sure that your website is mobile optimized, mobile friendly. You've heard these terms before. But now what we're seeing is that more than 50% of all traffic is coming from mobile, tablet devices. So we want to make sure that mobile, is your mobile layout the best experience, right? These are all the things that we're kind of thinking through to make sure that, our clients are as successful as possible. Right? So part of our cloud, there's about 7 or 8 different areas that we really want to focus on. I'm going to show you guys the ones that I think that are most relevant for your businesses. And so what I want to share with you here, in this cloud, what we're doing is we're pulling 90 different data streams into one place. So you actually have actionable information. You can understand how everything's performing and how you want to make adjustments, right? So this particular business, we're looking at in the last 90 days from August to November, he's had 2,700 people actually visit his website, right? Which is great. That's a stat and a metric you absolutely want to know as a business owner, a marketing person, office manager, whoever. You definitely want to know how many of those people are actually coming to your website, because that's going to help you to understand how everything is performing, right? So if I know that I'm getting 1,000 people to my website each month, then I can make sure that we're hitting the right mark in terms of our percentage that's actually converting. So rule of thumb, I would highly recommend everyone writing this down. You need at least 5% of your traffic to convert into a lead. So that's a phone call or a form submission. We call them goal completions here, right? If 5% of your traffic is not converting into a phone call and a form submission, if you don't know how to track that, those are things you want to be having conversations with your marketing company about or with us about, right? Most of our clients typically convert between 7 and 12%. That should be the metric that you should be shooting for. The minimum is 5%, okay? Then you want to understand, well, where is my traffic coming from, right? If 80% of my traffic is coming from direct visitors, those are people that probably saw your job signs. They might have seen your truck around. They might have heard your radio campaign. Not necessarily related to some of the things that you might be doing from digital. We'd also want to understand, okay, is it coming from our paid marketing? If you're doing anything with a local newspaper, that's typically going to be other or referral that you'll be able to see that traffic. So you want to understand, hey, if I'm spending all this money, what's working, right? There's a great quote from the founder of Macy's, said it in like 1939 or something like that, 50% of my marketing isn't working. I'm just not sure which of the percent, which is of the 50% is not working, right? So you want to be able to have that data and understand what, where you're actually getting traction to be able to make adjustments. So that way you don't have to waste money on programs that aren't working. Here, I actually have the ability to see what search phrases my business is actually showing up for, right? So we might think that, roofing, hey, man, that's going to get us a lot of traction. But I mentioned earlier, maybe that's bringing us a bunch of tire kickers, a bunch of people that can't afford our services. Maybe it's something more specific like metal roofing contractors that's actually converting at a higher, ratio. Or maybe it's the, Infinity Carrier product, or maybe it's a more obscure HVAC term, right? So we want to look at those sort of terms to really understand how everything is performing. I also want to be able to see what my competitors are doing. So this allows us to pull in data and information and say, hey, what are my competitors are doing? What are they implementing? How are, what sort of phrases are they going after that I might want to adjust my strategy? I kind of look at it as the Burger King approach to store locations. McDonald's goes out, they spend millions of dollars, they figure out where the exact perfect location is, and then Burger King sets up shop right across the street. Right? So it gives us that data to be able to see what our competitors are doing. Also, it allows us to defend our territory and make sure that, no new Chuck in the trucks are coming up and using our brand, right? Somebody might be trying to encroach on our brand. And so we want to make sure that, we're defending that territory. Right? We talked about the reviews and directory listings. So it pulls in 70 different directory listing sites all into one place, and we push that information out. I'm going to show you in here. We can go into a couple of these tabs. I won't go into all of them, but I'll show you a few of them so you guys can get some sort of idea on the detail information that we have here. I can also see what sort of things are people saying about us. Are people saying, hey, we're going to recommend you guys, you're doing great, or are they saying, hey, you know what, they actually damaged something on the property, or maybe if they fixed something that was damaged, I don't know. But this allows us to aggregate that information and see how we want to make adjustments and make sure that the brand is being represented. We can pull in social data, we can pull in our paid marketing content. There's really a lot that we've got access to here. I'm going to show you guys a couple of these things just real quickly, and then we'll address questions and give away the awesome Google Hub. So we showed here about 700 people have actually contacted us. So what I want to know is, okay, how many of those were phone calls versus form submissions, right? Which resources are actually converting better? Maybe you have an ebook, right, that might be for a softer conversion. I want to see how many of them are coming from organic or paid, right? Which one of these resources is actually working? There's actually a gentleman in here that has about, I think he's got a good like 25 different call tracking numbers. So his radio campaign has a different call tracking number. His newspaper ads, his TV, his billboards, everything is different. Everything is separate, so he can really track and understand how everything is performing. And that's really what we want to do in order to maximize that return on investment. Through this tool, we've also got some light CRM functionality, right? So we can actually pull in data about those individuals that actually contacted us and make sure that we're, responding to them. There's actually ways that we've got drip email campaigns through this to keep those prospects warm. So we've got a lot of this stuff set up to make this as simple and easy for you as possible, because we know, contractors, just don't have the time, right? We'd love to be able to do all this stuff, but if I've got to set all these up and I've got to go into my Google Analytics and I got to go into, my Facebook page and my Instagram page and, upload all these different posts, it's not going to happen. There's not enough, hours in the day for everybody, right? We talked about reviews and directory listings. So this is what happens, right? We put you in our system. As soon as we put you in here, our program, the companies that we partner with, the 68 different companies down here, they are all contractually obligated to update your information within 72 hours, right? So no longer do you have the, 15 different errors, in terms of, hey, what's my correct phone number? What's the new office address? What's the, did we add the suite number? Did I spell out street or not? Right? That's all taken care of for you guys. We've also got the ability to not only aggregate these reviews from Google My Business and from Yelp and from Facebook and other platforms, but we can actually respond to those reviews right here in the platform and actually request new reviews through this particular tool, which makes it really easy for us to acquire. We can upload 200 names at a time and boom, fire them all, right? One thing, though, that I would recommend for everybody, I know I mentioned this earlier, but just in case you didn't catch it, really the best strategy for reviews is sending them within 48 hours after your job has been completed. Anything longer than 48 hours, we tend to see as a pretty significant drop-off in terms of your response rate from those reviews, right? We also have the ability to connect in with all these different places, right? Your AdWords, your Google Analytics, the call tracking, your social media. Pull all this data into one place so that way you have the ability to be able to publish content all through our program here. So hopefully this was helpful for everybody. One of the things that we offer, as I mentioned, I hinted at this earlier, is setting up a private demo of our cloud technology, as well as walking you through 3 or 4 strategies that we've found to help you guys to be able to improve your online presence and actually generate those higher quality leads. So there's a couple different options here. We can schedule some time for Thursday, Monday, or you can just hit email and we will send that over as well. So just select one of those and then we will be in touch here shortly. One of my team members will be in touch and we will walk you guys through some of our best practices. Right? We had actually, we had a guy last year that went through his numbers, and through our program, we actually generated a little over 83 jobs and $1.3 million in revenue from the program. So we've seen some pretty good success and some pretty good traction. We had another contractor that he actually generated 27 Google reviews within the first few months of us running a program. So got some great success. Would love to be able to impart some of that wisdom. So just select one of those times. It looks like most people have already done that, and we will go through it.
Okay, we've got a couple questions for you, David.
Perfect.
So first question here is, our company already works with another company who does our SEM, website, content, etc. Is Surefire software that we'd be able to utilize, or is it more of a software for a company that's currently managing those things on their own?
Yeah, so we have both of those options, essentially. We have a lot of clients that we just provide the technology here for, that they can manage, and it's a single source of truth where they can actually see how things are performing and hold that current company accountable. And then we have some clients that, if they don't have a resource, we have the ability to be able to manage that and actually run a lot of these components for them as well.
Okay, great. And then we have one more question about Google. How can I get Google to recognize all the areas I do work in, not just where my physical location is?
Yeah, so that has to do a lot with the proximity data that we talked about earlier. And you might have come in a little bit late for that portion of it. But there's a really, really great tool that we have called GeoJuice that helps with that. Also having location-specific content on your website helps. Right, having product pages on your website that, where you have information about, hey, I service Denver, or I service Dallas or New York or wherever we are. But what we found to be the most effective is really that GeoJuice tool, because that hits all four of those key areas that we talked about: recency, proximity, relevance, and prominence.
Okay, great. I think that's it for questions today, and we're going to go on to our lucky winner. And just a reminder, you are winning the Google Home Hub and a free month of Surefire services, but you do have to go ahead and schedule a call to get everything all set up with that. Our winner today is Marcia Zeltman. Congratulations, Marcia. Please email marketing@surefirelocal.com, and we'll be able to get you set up with a meeting, and we'll get your Google Home Hub sent out to you if you send us your full mailing address.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate everyone's time. Hopefully this was helpful for everyone, steering you in the right direction. Again, if you do have any more questions, something comes up, email marketing@surefirelocal. I just covered it up, but marketing@surefirelocal.com, and we'll be happy to set up some time to talk with you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, guys.